All right. So this account that we're taking a look at is known as Xenadi, I guess. Xenadi. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but basically it needs help with alchemy. So we're gonna take a look at specific things. We're gonna look at his bubo, take a look at his alchemy, see what he can perform better. Give him a list, send it to him. You know how it is. So we're gonna start off, take a look, see what his skilling is. Got 114 alchemy. He's almost ready for the chocolate milk, not quite yet. So the main things that we're looking on for alchemy when we want to help people get better at it is very, very specific things. For instance, we want to go to the Shaman tab. We want to make sure bubble breakthroughs at 245, especially with brand new bubbles coming out, and also cranium cooking. For the people that don't know, cranium cooking is what pushes alchemy through years and years of progress. And busy brewing. Also, if you guys didn't know, it's not a huge priority because busy brew actually only helps with colored cauldrons. It doesn't help with things such as, you know, the other liquid cauldrons for like distilled water and dense water and stuff like that. So the things also to help push alchemy faster and better. Tentacle Eye, a huge one. Cranium cooking, massive one. Bubble breakthrough, also huge. Suspicious aura, another very important one. And then we need to make sure chemical warfare and flatulent spirit should be at 245. Currently, you have 196 on chemical warfare and 203 on that as well, but you have a 245 on symbols. And then the last one is make sure you have 245 on raise dead. So, right off the get-go, chemical warfare and flatulent spirit get to 245. Now you might be asking yourself, Griffy, why does chemical warfare and flatulent spirit better? They increase your kills per hour when farming cranium cooking. More kills per hour means more cranium cook procs, which also means higher cranium cook time. So that's why you want to make sure that all those damage ones specifically at 245. And let's take a look at cards. Make sure, is he running crystal build? Does he have the chip doubler on? Chop dealer, top left, bottom right. Okay, so if you are farming, what is he currently doing? What's his activity? Tremor worms. So, as this sits right now, your card setup is a little all over the place. So what I would suggest is top right, or top left, I should say. Top left should be poops. Bottom right, demon genies, because you do have the chips that doubles the boast. Now, you want the higher crystal spawn chance because more of them means more respawn dead. More respawn dead means more refreshes for Tentacle Eye. More refreshes for Tentacle Eye means faster cranium cook time. So crystal spawns are very, very important, especially when you're running a build. So you want to make sure that you have poop on the left here and then demon genies on the right. At least when you're going specifically for tremor worms, which is currently where you're at. This will help alchemy in general. Now let's take a quick look here. So you have full crystal for days. That's fantastic. So you're mostly in combat build. So all this will be good for now. Okay. Yep, all that looks fine. So those are the things that I would put currently. Bottom right, demon genies. Top left, poops. Great. These guys cards, prayers. I would not be running Fiber of Absence. Fiber of Absence does not help with cranium cooking whatsoever. And if you're running Fiber of Absence while running Balance of Pain, this is counterproductive for each other, especially when you're running things like Jawbreaker and you're not running things like Midas Mind. I would personally take off Big Brain Time and put Midas Mind instead, because Jawbreaker, Midas Mind go hand in hand for each other, especially when it's so good at money farming. Fiber of Absence is destroying your total damage percent, and it's giving you towards nothing since you're at Tremor Worms and you're not pushing much like Death Note or opening portals. And then now you're kind of screwing yourself over with Balance of Pain in that category. Also, if you can, I would ideally want to run Rucksack over Zerg Rushogen, especially if it's your main active. So, take off Zerg and replace with Rucksack. And take off Fiber of Absence and Big Brain. And replace with Midas. Because if you guys don't know, it also helps with money percent. Drop rate has thresholds to increase your money percent. And also, if you want to help push Alchemy a little bit more, Skill Dimwit has a skill XP nerf that actually nerfs your skill XP for Alchemy. But maybe think about running prayer proficiency as well. And I don't know if you're actively farming Bubo, but I'm assuming that you're actively farming Bubo by taking a look at it and the fact that you're not running any AFK cards. But your chips look great. You have the double for active star signs, you have the double for a trophy, the double for a keychain. Total skilling could probably be swapped out. But I mean, it's not a big deal. I would personally swap this out for the what is that one? What is that? There's the active star sign, there's the trophy, there's the keychain, and then there's the trophy keychain pendant. You want the pendant one. You want to get that. You want to try to see if you can get the chip for the pendant, because that will also help the things like such as all stat, or even if you want to run the divine scarf as well. That will just help you make more money when we get to alchemy, when we eventually get there in a second. So, also aim for pendant chip doubler. Okay, and then let's take a look at post office. Just make your cranium cookings cooking. You're all good with the post office there. Fantastic. And let's just take a quick look at your equipment. Okay, you're running the Cheezor Scarf, the Trailblazer, Ella Sorcery, Mob Respawn Keychains. Okay, well, this stuff doesn't really matter too much about alchemy. This is still helping with your kills per kill. It's not gonna change things by running drop rate. It's just, this is just gonna help with your money set. But ideally, you wanna run Beach Bro with a drop rate helmet, or all stat, depends on what you want to do personally. You got the full magma, which is good. Try to go, if you can, farm out the pendant from Cattle Crook if you can. You would want to go more of the Emperor Obels from farming Mob Respawn, and I would go with the donut keychains if you can. Donut keychains for wisdom percent are super, super good, because it only hard focuses wisdom rather than focusing on all stat, and you can get those higher. And then if you do have the beach name tag, do the beach name tag. And then also, if you have the purple rose or the troll wings, the blitzkrieg wings, you could go that either choice as well. But overall, I mean, it doesn't look too bad. You just got, I would say, if anything, you just got some gear optimization. Gear optimization for Bubo. But the thing is if you optimize all this gear in the long run, it's going to benefit you. Not only will it benefit you, it will also benefit your alchemy in the long term. Okay, so let's take a look at account. And the main thing that we want to look at is we're going to take a quick look at stamps here, just see what you have for alchemy stamps. Bonus alchemy, alchemy speed, 2.57. I would suggest getting more alchemy speed. Wouldn't hurt too much. You got a lot of liquid regen. That's good. I mean, I don't think you really need alchemy speed. I take that back. Ooh, this is a big one. Your droplet stamps. Droplet stamps for the cap for alchemy liquids. Droplet stamp, always huge. You want to get that. 180 crystalline, yeah, that's super nice as well. Looking good. And I mean, it's level 100. You got pretty good. If you want to do more drippy drop stamp, you can't, but that starts getting really expensive. But it sees here that you only have it needed 688k for the next upgrade. It's looking like it's only costing you void coins. You're pretty much getting to that point where your Bubo is going to be basically god tier. You do have 245. It should be god tier. Let's take a look at the bubbles here. Okay, so the big ones where I'm seeing here. Okay, so you have the 300%, 300%. Mage's best to get to that next point is 450. So Mage's best at 450 would be a good idea to start working towards. Definitely getting your cooking roadkill. Your cooking roadkill, you should be using as much as you possible can. You should get a print for toilet logs, and you should push cooking roadkill as fast as possible, because this is a very, very, very strong bubble. Especially if you can get this up to like 110%. This is where you're going to see people start getting 300,000 to 400,000 seconds, or 40. Is it 40k seconds? Somewhere around there. It's either 40k or 400k. One or the other. I don't know. I'm 70% wrong most of the time anyways. Definitely also putting a couple points into Smart Boy talent just to make sure that it scales off with your Mage's Best to give you more talent points, so then you can make sure everything that you need is at 245 without even worrying about not having enough talent points. This is a huge one for you. Nickel of Wisdom, because everything's going to scale off Wisdom, especially with Bubo. This is going to help you with your money percent. Definitely something you need to work on. You got the 75% power of Try 1, Try 2, and Try 3. These are huge damage boosts. This is definitely going to help you make sure you one-shot with your Bubo, because one-shotting with your Bubo means more cranium, and not to mention you're always going to need more damage, especially running things like Drawbreaker and Midas Mind. You always want to make sure to have as much damage to be able to one-shot as possible, especially with World 6 coming soon. The end mobs are going to have way more health, and if you get to enough damage to be able to still run Midas Mind and Drawbreaker while at the end of World 6 mobs, you're going to be looking at a really good place. But you also have to remember to one-shot crystals. So the World 6 end of World 6 mobs plus the World 6 crystals, you might be in for a doozy. So definitely start working on Pyro Try 1, Try 2, and Try 3 to at least get 80%. Now the next thing I really want to look at for Alchemy specifically is I want to look at your skilling. How strong is your skilling? If your skilling's weak, that's the major thing we need to work on. So the brain, I'm looking at about 85% for things. Nude Bubble, it doesn't really matter. 88%, 87%. So you're getting on the cusp of about 90%. You do Maddie stat for it a little bit more if you want. If you do want to do with bargain tags to try to sneak that up until you can get to a point where you can atom it, or you can just upgrade everything up so it slowly upgrades that. But I mean, 77% is pretty fine. Call Me Pope, huge underrated bubble, especially since you have Sheepy. This thing's only 70%. This is a huge one to work on. This bubble will help worship. Call Me Pope, huge. And then let's do skilling bubbles for each bubble, because I would strongly suggest to get this. Is going to be, I want to see 90%. I want you to work on 90% on all your skilling bubbles. So, what are the skilling bubbles? These are things like Hocus Chopus, Mage's Best, Archer's Bust, Warrior's Rule, Hardy Diggy, the multipliers. You know, you want to also do things like LeBrain Tools. Get that to 90%. You're almost there. Call Me Pope is good to get to 90%, but it's not the one that I want you to necessarily focus on. The ones I want to necessarily you focus on are things like chopping and mining. What I see right now is you need to get your alchemy ready to start working on 3D prints, to start printing out a ton of atoms. So then, because you're really at a point where you're close to getting 100 million on most of your bubbles. This is going to be very, very good for you. Another thing to get up is Tree Sleeper. Tree Sleeper, you're at 88%, so you're almost there. Same with Severa Purple, you're almost at 90%. So you could easily, for the most part, get these 90%. This is a huge one. Slave Wisdom. People actually sleep on Slave Wisdom, but believe it or not, it's base wisdom, so this is going to fuel off your all stat. Slave Wisdom is actually pretty good, especially since you can atom it by now. So I would try to get this to at least 90%, but it's not one of the huge ones that's a requirement. As Oso saying, you know, your 85% Archer's Bust, I believe 450 is 90%, if I'm correct, and I believe 950 is 90%, or is 95%. So definitely working on Archer's Bust, working on Sanic Tools. Your Shakracy and your FMJ is fine. It might become a little bit of an issue when going to World 6, but it's probably not a big deal. Permagreen, also a big one. Flying Mind, something you want to work on as well. And Slabo Critterbug, and also Slabo Agility is another thing that you can also add them as well. And then for the Orange Cauldron, of course, it's a little bit different, actually. A little bit different. So you want to focus things on Warrior's Rule, Hardy Diggy, Strong Tools, and then you want to go over to Carpenter. You want to try to see if you can work on getting this to be able to atom. If you get this to atom, you're going to see your build rate skyrocket. And also want to work on Multi-Orange, Dream of Ironfish, but also at the same time, you want to work on Shimmeron. Okay? Shimmeron is so strong because this is specifically gold food effects. So this works on things as a big one, just to give it up, is the ribs. The golden ribs for fishing is so good. Okay? Not only that, the golden peanuts. This stacked on with golden peanuts, state of the art. It's amazing. Also stacks with Warrior Rule. So if you're using it specifically for golden peanuts and also using it for the fishing ribs as well, you also have to put a multiplier on that as well. So definitely work on that. And then we also have Slabby Oarfish, Slabby Strength. So I would say hard focus on these things, because this is ultimately going to help your alchemy in the long term, because the whole thing and reason why you're doing this is specifically for atom gain. Now, atom gain is going to skyrocket your alchemy. Now, if we take a look, prowessy, you're at 2.11, so you don't have to worry about that. I personally, this is more of a hot take for me, but I actually leveled Starchu EXP up to level 90% just because less statues means more bonuses. So, I mean, I'm personally a fan of it. So, I mean, but that's up to you. That's up to you if you want to work on something like that. Before anything, though, Larry needs to be a minimum. Go for 1100. Go for 1100 on Larry. I mean, you got the 517. That's great, but let's go an extra mile. Let's go for the 1100 Larry. I think you're ready. 1100 Larry. You're gonna be amazed of how much worth it that's gonna be. Is it 1100 or 1150? Either one of the two. 1100 or 1150 will give you that extra percentage, and believe me, you do this every day, it starts compounding, like mecha compounding. It's beautiful. And then probably you have the sample size that you need. Ignore overdues is you're gonna be good for books, but I mean you don't have to worry about that right away. This is gonna be a big one. Now okay, so you can add a diamond chef. So you're about to get super goated in cooking, and this is going to help things like rice ball, corn, for your skill efficiency. Also mocha, which is also super good for skill efficiency. Not to mention, we're getting new meals in World 6. You need to hyper-focus this. Even though it says it's 92%, it's a lie. It's not true. This bubble works differently than other bubbles, okay? You want this at like, well, for me, I have to get it up to like 3,500. But I mean, the next threshold, I believe, is like 540. And then I believe it goes to like 1,248 or something around there. So definitely want to start boosting up your Diamond Chef. Diamond Chef 1267 is what I would suggest you to try to attain for. Is the next big bonus. It goes 540, then like 1267 is somewhere that you definitely want to go. Big P. Although you don't have Dude, Big P is still fantastic. Big P is really good for things such as 3D prints because you get that higher God bonus, which means you also get to the point where you can get, you know, the nice stuff like the extra talent point for the extra logs on logs proc. So then you get like an extra 20,000, 50,000 logs just because you have an extra talent point. So definitely work on Big P as well. I believe you can get that to like, I believe you want to round that 1100, I believe, give or take. I believe it's somewhere in the thousands. I know that for sure. But I mean, just looking at this is like you got skilling bubbles to 90% to hard focus. You also got 1100 Larry to work on, 1267 Diamond Chef, and also 1100 Big P. Like that will help you crazily if you can just work on that stuff. Let's just take a quick look at your cauldrons here. Make sure they're all 170. That's good. That's lovely. Make sure all your pay to wins are good. Excellent. That's awesome. What is your capping on liquids, by the way? You should throw that into something if you can. 151, 151. So you should probably start working on liquid investment more. Definitely work on liquid investment. How's the vials looking? Ooh. Vial farming looks like, oh, vial farming. Vial farming needs all the love. This is your big task out of all your alchemy. So like things like, you know, for instance, Pearl Seltzers, Elemental Sorcerer, but don't need to worry about that. Electrolytes, Elemental Sorcerer. Ash Agua, Elemental Sorcerer. 40/40 Purity, Elemental Sorcerer. Slow energy drink. I mean, these soul ones are going to take a while. The trapping ones are going to take a while. I would suggest you leveling up your worship first and leveling up your trapping first before you start attempting to level 13 these. Because what you want to do is you want to super juice Species Epoch. Because if you can super juice out Species Epoch, then it's going to be making it much easier. So definitely getting your stuff up for your Beastmaster before you start going for level 13 will save you like literally hundreds of hours worth of time. How are your sigils working? Pumped up kicks. I mean, you got crazy sigils. Okay, so you're mostly working on sigils, boost liquid rate. Okay, so you're looking at 186 days, which is kind of something we want to stay away from. I would probably, if I were you, I would probably take some characters off and I would specifically hard farm your liquid. Because your liquid right now is pretty low. So here's what I would suggest you to do. I'd suggest to take most of your characters off liquid, or off sigils, and throw people into liquid, and then get these from 150. Try to get these to like 400. Just all you do is no life bubo, and just get these as high as you can, because once all that stuff drops, you're gonna want as much liquid as possible. Because more liquid, this means it's beautiful. So definitely start hard focusing liquid. Hard focus liquid. There's one more thing I want to check before we move on here. I just want to make sure you check your characters. Look here. What was your equipment again? You're using a staff. Okay, if you have not been using your staff, you want to make sure to use boxing stingers, which is the beginner's fist weapon. Now you might be asking yourself, Griffy, why do you use stingers as a bubo? Well, the reason why you use stingers as a bubo is because of specifically the auspicious aura ability. The auspicious aura ability is more likely to land in the center rather than using the wand, and also the auspicious aura seems to proc more often when you're currently in movement. So since you're currently in movement and it drops it right in the middle, you're overall getting more kills per hour with your auspicious aura compared to your wand, where you have to be basically at the edge of the map because the range is so long. And also, I'm pretty sure it's not as fast. I think it might be a little bit faster, but I'm not 100% sure on it. But overall, stingers are going to be your go-to, because you're cool. Basically, your talent setup is going to look like this, depending on the map. It might be a little different, but from memory, it should go cranium cooking, respawn dead, aura, flatulent spirit, gas. Now you only run gas on specific maps, like for instance, stilt moles. You run gas. You're not on stilt. If you want something like tremor worms, you don't need to run gas. You can just have flatulent spirit there. And that's kind of how your attack cooldown rotation is going to work, especially where you're at. So to finish it off, here's what I suggest you to do. Get your chemical warfare and your flatulent spirit to 245. Make sure when you're setting up your cars for specifically true tremor worm farming for cranium cooking, top left is poops, bottom right is demon genies because you have the Dumbler chips. Take off Zerg Reshigen and replace it with Rucksack. Take off Fiber of Absence and Big Brain and replace it with Midas Mind. Aim for double pendant chip for your doubling of your necklace, especially when you get the ult stat. You need some gear optimization for your bubo, such as like the wisdom keychains, the donut keychains, the Beach Bro trophy if you have it, or you can use the Divine trophy that works as well, or Lucky Lad, whatever you have opening for you. But if that's all you have, Trailblazer's fine. If you have the summer event name tag, that's going to be more advantageous. If you have the Blitzkrieg cattle crook, or sorry, the Blitzkrieg troll wings, or the purple roses instead of your wings, and the Emperor Obels on your rings, and then run your stingers, right? Stuff like that. I said a little bit more. You can do this droplet stamp. The droplet stamp's actually pretty good. It's good for capacity. You could also do the other one that increases the liquid speed just for your stamps, which is, not too bad. Call Me Pope. Call Me Pope is great for worship charge. This is going to help you start hard focusing species epoch as well, especially since you have cheapy. Definitely not a hard thing. Mostly when focusing on your alchemy, I want you to focus most on skilling bubbles, getting everything to 90%. It's going to be super important for your 3D prints because you want to start farming as much atoms as possible, because you are getting to that point where most of your bubbles are going to be atomable. So definitely getting your skilling bubbles to hard focus 100%. Getting about 1100 Larry. 1100 Larry is going to be very, very good for you, and it's going to help out a lot. Also get Diamond Chef to 1267, because when it says you're at 93% at 186, it is a lie. Get this up to 1267, go 540, 1267. Those are kind of the thresholds for specifically Diamond Chef. Big P for 1100 gets you a little bit closer to that extra talent point with stuff like Bear to be able to, get overall more prints. Vial farming. Your vial farming is a little bit lackluster. You got a lot of stuff that you can do with your ES while running drop rate to be able to farm all those other vials. Also, level up your Beastmaster with trapping and worship as much as possible so you can get that species epoch bonus going super hard. Just start no-lifing 100%. Just start straight up no-lifing bubo and hard focus liquids and get your liquids regens. And of course, like I said, running stingers. And there's one more thing we want to look at before we head off, is to look at the Atom Collider. Make sure that you have maxed out Boron. I'm glad I looked at that. Boron ASAP. Get your boron up there as soon as possible, but make sure to spend all your particles the day before you upgrade your boron. So when going forward, you got to think to yourself, can I do this upgrade? Yes. Can I also have enough to pay for my amounts of particle upgrades for the day? No. If you can't do that, only spend particles, wait to the next day. And then wait until you can do the full amount for how much you have and the boron upgrade at the same time. And then you'll never really lose out. So that's what I would 100% suggest. So definitely boron should be a priority. And that's what I think you should work on when it comes to alchemy in general. Good luck, dude. And I hope you figure out where you need to go. There we go.